Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we are going to be looking at the Season 5 Season Store characters and bag that is going to be available this season. First up, we are going to be taking a first look at Leon, who is the exclusive 5-star ascendable character available in leagues. Leon is a fast character and is classified as a damage dealer. His stats are 1996 attack, 1592 defense and 1807 HP. So for a damage dealer within Generation 2, his base attack is pretty low. He is normally around that sort of attack rating as a Generation 1 attack character. So it is maybe 150 to 200 damage away from being where it should be as a Generation 2 attack character. Now that may not sound like a lot, but when all the percentages are added together from the base attack on the rush, the weapon, the leader skill, buffs, combat mods, that can calculate up to being tens of thousands of damage sometimes. So that is quite a lot of damage fall off. First off, we'll look at his rush. However, it is called Advancing Slashes and it is a 76 AP cost. Deal 400% damage to a line of enemies, up to 2 teammates get 50% attack for 2 turns. So quite a narrow rush, not really that amazing in terms of what it does. It's just basic damage and a bit of a buff to a couple of characters. It's not even all teammates, so it is very surprising at the AP cost. 76 is very high for a rush that really doesn't do too much, if I'm honest. We'll look at his active skill and it is heal reduction, and it has an initial cooldown of 2 and a cooldown of 3. 50% healing reduction to one enemy for 3 turns. So obviously not that important 100% heal reduction that will be blocking revives for 3 turns if that character did get killed, but it does reduce the amount of incoming HP. I don't think it is a great active skill, to be honest, but seeing as this character is probably going to be an attacking character, you would have full control of when you wanted to use this in raids and so on. Now the main draw of this character is that he is a decapitate specialist and he is going to be one that is good for an attack team compared to last season's Regina, who initially looked good on paper for an attack team. She actually turned out to be a very good defense team character. This character is going to be a good attack team character. Now, the damage output is not going to be the same sort of levels of someone like Wayland, for instance, who has 500% damage on his rush. They have around the same sort of base attack, obviously Wayland being Generation 1, however. But Leon is a fast character. We do not have a decapitate within fast, within free-to-play, so this is sorely needed, and it is actually a really great character to have in leagues. I think it obviously could have been a bit better, but if you gear this character out properly with combat mods, and obviously get a really good weapon in his hands with 35 or 40% attack damage, and obviously behind a good leader as well, you can have massive amounts of damage output with this character. You just have to gear him specifically well to have a certain job. And if that job's to take down tough characters, you can definitely destroy tough characters with this guy. So in conclusion, I think that Leon is a good character. He's not great. He has got a very needed specialist skill, which is Decapitate, and obviously being in a trait where it isn't already available, it is a big bonus. Now, other than Leon in the store, there is of course a special league bag that you can see on your screen that you can claim 20 times. There is a returning ascendable that is Wyatt. There is also Abraham, the Rocket Abe, which is a lot of people's go-to character for taking down towers in war. And then there are 2 other characters, which is Javier, a Telltale character. Someone did predict, I do forget the name, but someone did predict on one of my videos that because it's an odd season number, that a Telltale character would appear. And lo and behold, it is Javier, who is a big favorite for a lot of people, and that was a very good call. And lastly, there's Eugene, who is one of the few characters in the game who has lightning reflexes. And these are all 5-star characters that obviously are going to be in the store. First up, we'll look at the bag, and it has 3 different sets in it. The first set has legendary trainers, the second set has legendary gear, and the third set has uncommon trainers up to epic trainers. So take a bit more of a detailed look for each set. In set 1, you can get between 1 and 20 Ulysses or Liliths, obviously scaling from 1, 2, 5, 10, and 20. Now, there is no odds breakdown within this bag, which is a real shame. There definitely should be some odds breakdown, just so we know how basically worthwhile it is getting this bag. I'd still say it's probably worthwhile getting, but it's always good to know the odds. Even if you don't directly have to spend money on these bags, potentially you will spend money that will end up with this being the end reward. So it'd be great if every single bag in the game could have odds on it in the future. The second set is all the top end secondary gear, no GPS in canteens. We've got the whetstones, double holsters, hockey masks and bandoliers. We also have knife sheaths, practice dummies, sports gauntlets and weapon tripods. All this gear is sorely needed, so obviously this is going to be great for pretty much anyone who claims this bag. And lastly, we have basically an RNG bag of between 1 and 10 uncommon to epic trainers. So obviously if you get 10 bennies, that's going to be enough to ascend somebody with some leftovers, and if you get 10 uncommon trainers, that's going to be a reasonable amount of XP into some new character that you've obviously claimed or tiered up to 6-star. All in all, I actually think this bag is pretty good overall. It's just a shame there are no odds. Even if the odds are not great, it's just good to know, and I think this should be common practice hopefully in the future. You can claim 20 and it costs 2,000 season tokens each, so it'll be a grand total of 40,000 season tokens if you want to claim every single bag. We will look at the returning ascendable, which is Wyatt. He was initially released as a promo character. He was one of the very first 6-star promos, and he was only the 11th 6-star to ever be released. He was also part of one of the museum gear events, which is where a lot of people got their hands on him. But to be honest, he was just okay when he was part of that event. He wasn't a game changer. A majority of people claimed him because they didn't really have too many characters at that point. I don't think he's that good. He's okay. He's not spectacular. He isn't someone who's going to get buffed in the future with some of the changes that are coming in with Taunt, for instance. If he kept the Taunt that he had as a 5-star into that 6-star rush, he'd actually be pretty decent even now. But these days he is a distinctly below average character, especially within Generation 2, because obviously as a Generation 1 character he was very tanky, but in Generation 2 he's got a massive drop off in stats. And this returning ascendable, I have to say, is very disappointing. I looked at the polls that I did on the forums and in my last video, and it does seem like the majority of people wanted an alert character because we've never had a returning ascendable be an alert character before, but we do get a strong character again, and we've already had one in Kelly in season 1. Now the fact that he's strong isn't the big issue for me, it's just that he is not very useful. He's below average, like I said. He's not going to change the game for anybody. He does not fit into the current meta. He doesn't do anything except just sort of be a meat shield on a defense team, and that isn't what the majority of people need. I think there were more fun alternatives that could have been put in as the character, especially if there wasn't going to be a character that was going to be a game changer. It could have been someone fun. For instance, Naya, not really a game changer, but potential bit of fun in terms of her specialist skill and potentially just in other parts of the game. Even in raids in very niche attack teams, but not really that amazing. For instance, it could have been a lacerator character like Rick, who I don't think is super spectacular, but he would have been just fun for some people to actually have a lacerator and just be able to use. But personally, I still would have preferred an alert character. But for this season, we're going to have Wyatt, and we're going to have to wait another 8 weeks to potentially have a character to return that could actually make a difference to the majority of our rosters. As I did mention in my previous video about the changes to the leagues this season and going forward, there's much more pressure on these ascendable characters actually being useful, and Wyatt is not that. Now we'll look at the 3 5-stars. First up we have Abraham. Obviously he's one of the best characters at clearing walkers going for towers, just because he can kill every walker on the screen. His rushes deal 325% damage to a group of enemies, and that just means everybody. They don't have to be adjacent, they don't have to be in a line, it's just everything on that screen will get hit with 325% damage, which is enough to kill a walker behind a decent attack leader. Secondly, we have Javier, who is, like I said before, a Telltale character. Lots of people love Telltale characters. It is great to see Telltale characters come into this part of the store. As a 5-star, Javi was actually really amazing. He was basically the green version of Andrea in terms of the damage output, in terms of the leader skill. He was really good, especially on defense teams. If you had a shield would work great behind him because they'd generally be the one that got elusive for 2 turns, and that was really powerful. And lastly, we have Eugene, who is a very different character. He had a nice debuff, but he had lightning reflexes, which was pretty much a one-off specialist skill within the 5-star era. I think there might be a 4-star with it. I'm not 100% who has it. But I guess these characters aren't actually too bad, and if any of these characters did become 6-stars, they could be pretty good, especially Javi, because I think obviously free-to-play especially need that leader skill for strong characters, huge AP on attack. So all in all, I actually think this season's characters aren't too bad. I think Leon could have been better, but he definitely could have been worse. I think he's going to be actually a pretty decent attacking character, especially if you've got someone like Michelle, or if you've got someone like Rise to Power Rick, who is just going to sit behind and they're going to boost his damage massively with their leader skill. The only real disappointment is Wyatt as the returning ascendable. There definitely needs to be better characters in that returning ascendable going forward, especially as there is only going to be one exclusive character every season. So fingers crossed next season's returning ascendable is at the very least someone who's a bit of fun, but hopefully someone who's going to be useful and is going to be able to close the gap between free to play and pay to win. Do tell me your thoughts on the League Season 5 store. What's your favorite part? Which character are you thinking about claiming instantly? For me, I'd say Leon is a very good pickup. I'm going to do a proper review of this once it's live in-game. But that's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.